Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Home Modification Occupational Therapy Alliance HMOTA meeting. Tonight we have a very special guest, Emily Nabors from the USC Executive Certificate in Home Modifications. And Emily's going to talk to us about different resources for home modifications and probably introduce the Executive Certificate a little bit. I have to say I've taken several courses for home modifications, and I was most impressed with USC Executive Certificate in Home Modifications. It was it was quite a long course, but it was nice because I was able to engage with other students. They had a listserv, so if you posted something, everybody could respond to it and everyone could see it. And they just had me doing research on things I really needed to be doing research on, and not all of them did I actually know how much I needed to do research on it. So please, everybody, welcome Emily Nabors. And Emily, I hope that we can get your microphone working.
Well, thank you, Karen, so much, and thank you to the HMOTA group for inviting me to present to you this evening and including me in your meeting.
Yeah, we're excited to have you.
I am the
Great.
I am the program manager at the Fall Prevention Center of Excellence, which is based at the Leonard Davis School of Gerontology at USC. And I have worked at the Fall Prevention Center since 2008. I have experience evaluating, providing technical assistance to, and co-leading fall prevention, both locally and then a statewide network. And the Fall Prevention Center also collaborates with the National Council on Aging and the Falls Free Initiative to reach the national level, as well as other collaborative I'll describe to you tonight. And in addition to work with coalitions, I have worked on research projects, developing fall prevention related tools and educational materials, doing presentations, grant writing. I wear a bunch of different hats, organizing events and aging in place summits at the Leonard Davis School. So I'm very excited to share just a kind of focus on a couple of the resources that we have to offer that might be of interest to you. Next slide. To give a little background, at USC we have a long history of working to reduce falls, and specifically 30-year history in the home modification and universal design fields. And we operate the applied research realm at USC, taking what's been shown to be effective ways to reduce fall risks, practical information, and making it user-friendly for consumers and professionals in the field. We focus on three main areas or efforts, and this includes research, education and training, and information dissemination. The research is focused on developing tools and kind of exploratory research. An example would include research on universal design and to consumers who were faced with remodeling after they had damage to their homes, specifically their kitchens and bathrooms. But tonight I will focus on the last two areas, education and training, our Executive Certificate in Home Modification program that Karen mentioned, and information dissemination, specifically a new group of home modification resources that we developed with the National Council on Aging. Next slide. Let's take a look at the Executive Certificate, and I'm sure you are all well aware, already older adults prefer to remain in their homes as they age. However, over time, many homes that were once safe and supportive no longer meet the needs of residents to safety and independence. The homes where people live now, there are increasing numbers of older adults who are aging in the community, often with chronic conditions, and homes are becoming the long-term care settings of the future. Unfortunately, a qualified, efficiently networked home modification workforce that can recommend and make changes is lacking to meet what we see demand, if not current demand. Leonard Davis School of Gerontology has a history of training all types of professionals. In addition to the traditional students, we do train professionals online and in person. And the Executive Certificate in Home Modification program is designed for professionals who work directly or in the field of supportive home environments. And I've got a little image here of our student composition. It's pretty evenly divided between or amongst professionals from the housing sector, such as contractors, remodelers, people looking to start a home modification business. Then we have professionals from the aging disability sector, as well as healthcare. And we have over 900 alumni across the country. Slide. The program consists of courses. It's quite comprehensive. We have people, they're all coming to the program with different areas of expertise. So, for example, not everyone might know about aging or about the home environment and housing issues. So, are aiming to cover all the bases and provide a very strong foundation. The first course, Basics and Beyond, describes what home modifications are and why they're important, key aspects of universal design and assistive devices, and how they contribute to maintaining independence. It reviews home assessment instruments, safety checklists, common home modifications, as well as important communication skills for making suggestions and recommendations for home modification. The second course is more hands-on, as the title may suggest. It equips students with the skills to identify a qualified contractor or reach out to occupational therapists, who we always tout as the gold standard. We teach how to read architectural drawings and plans, how to individualize home modification strategies to meet users' needs and locate products. And we have a whole course on funding resources and mechanisms. We also have a course which I instruct on raising awareness and coalition building. We really try to hit home the importance of establishing partnerships to identify and address the greatest home modification related needs in each student's community. It's really rewarding to just have some students come in not really thinking that this course is for them, or not seeing clearly how raising awareness and educating in their community could benefit a business they may start, or just not seeing a role for themselves in that way, and then coming away from the course realizing how many opportunities are out there, and how raising awareness can increase demand for home modification services, which could be very beneficial to their business. I find that course to be particularly exciting, might be biased. And then we also on ethics related to working with special populations such as older adults, people with dementia, people with disabilities. Next slide, please. To give some more detail, we have the 5 courses plus a final exam. The program itself is offered about 4 to 5 times a year, and there are usually about 20 students. that make their way through the program at one time. Although some people will take one course or a few courses and not complete the program, but one needs to complete all the courses and final assignment in order to receive the executive certificate at the end. It takes about 3 to 4 months. Course is about 3 weeks included, and we are accredited and certified CEUs for occupational therapists. Next slide. The program is designed for working professionals, so there is a lecture. Students can complete it on their own schedule. There are assignments and certain deadlines for when those are to be turned in, but there's a lot of flexibility in terms of reading through the lecture. It's chock full of resources and additional sources of information. We have individual assignments that go directly to the instructor, and students receive individualized feedback. And then, as Karen mentioned, there are the listserv assignments, which are really great. They're a really great opportunity for professionals to see what's going on in other students' communities. We'll pose a question or ask students to report back on different topics, and it's an opportunity for everyone to share information, network, strategize, and learn more about what their peers are doing. Next slide. I will give you a link at the end so you can look up more information on the Executive Certificate Program if you're interested. But I also wanted to focus on some new resources that we developed with the National Council on Aging, featuring home and home safety programs, home assessment instruments, and funding sources to provide to consumers and providers. So I will go ahead and share some information about those with you. Next slide. To give some background on this work, again, as I imagine many of you know, a multifactorial fall risk intervention, the optimal type or approach, includes home assessment and modification, along with assessment by a health professional and physical activity, education and vision checks, and I could certainly go on and on, but those are some key aspects to a multifactorial fall risk intervention. Home assessment and modification is one of them. And the National Council on Aging and their Falls Free initiative developed a National Falls Prevention Action Plan. This was put together by key stakeholders from across the country. It was somewhat recently reviewed and updated in 2015 in conjunction with the White House Conference on Aging. They held a summit there, and it includes a home safety section, and this kind of guided these resources we developed, which address some of the objectives and action steps in this plan. And NCA reached out to us with our experience in home modification and the resources that we have from operating the Executive Certificate and Home Modification Program to collaborate on developing these resources. And often older adults and professionals, even some professionals, may not be aware of the importance and benefits of home modification, or if they are aware, they don't necessarily know how to find home modification programs, services, and funding sources in their area. So this collaboration really enabled us to pull together a lot of the great information we had and develop new resources to support education and referral efforts. Next slide. So this is a little screenshot from our website, falls.org, where you can find these resources. And there are three main items that I'll say. The home modification program inventory, home assessment tools inventory, and home modification funding resources list. So I'll go through them one by one. Next slide. The first is the home modification program inventory, and it has two main sections. The first is a list of evidence-based fall prevention programs that include a home modification component. So examples would be Stepping On or the Capable program. The second part of this inventory is a list of best practices and innovative programs related to home modification. And to kind of explain what that is, I'll explain another resource we have. It's the National Directory of Home Repair and Home Modification Services that it created from a national survey of AAA's, Centers for Independent Living and senior centers and other groups. A while back, and since it was initially created, entries have been added via graduates of our executive certificate course and upon request. We don't endorse this directory, however, it's reviewed for appropriateness and quite broad. You can go to our website, homemods.org, and there's a map, and you can click your state. And so this is a great source of information, but in comparison, this newer resource is really focused on programs that go above and beyond, that incorporate, that have unique characteristics. I've listed a few. They may use occupational therapists or volunteers or a multidisciplinary team format. They may have creative funding sources and partners or unique education, outreach, and research efforts. So we're trying to highlight these innovative programs. And I have here a screenshot of the evidence-based falls prevention programs list. And I'm not sure it's, okay, it's advancing now. And it shows the Capable program. I should mention that we have two versions of this inventory. This is the version for professionals, and it includes many details. There's a simplified version for consumers that still has the evidence programs list, but it doesn't include details like training requirements and program costs, for example. What's not is the best practices and innovations list. That includes the program name, contact information, description, and eligibility and cost information. It's organized by state and evidence-based fall prevention programs with a home modification component, and then about 30 best practices and innovative programs. This originally was developed from reports from our 900 plus executive certificate in home modification program alumni. But since we developed it, since the original iteration of it, we've conducted a survey, responses from over 150 organizations from the aging, disability, housing, and healthcare sectors nationwide. We were asked for home modification practices and programs to consider to add to this inventory. So we have a lot of programs to go through and see what's appropriate to add. If anyone is interested in taking this survey, I would be more than happy to provide it to Karen to share with you as we make our way through and continue to add more programs to this list. And we encourage you to come back and visit again and see what's been added over time.
That would be wonderful. If you could send me the link, and I'll send it out to everyone and post it on our website. And also, I guess I'll wait till the end, but we all would love to get on your list.
Oh, yeah. Okay, great.
Yeah. So, but go ahead, and I'll ask you about that at the end.
Sure. Sounds good. Okay. The next resource is the home assessment tools. This one as well, we have a version for professionals and a version for consumers. The professionals version has a list of home assessment tools for professionals to conduct, and then another list of assessments that you could recommend to clients, the consumers list. The consumers version it does not have the professional assessment list on it. This was put together through an extensive literature research effort. Right now it has 10 tools for professionals and 5 for consumers. And again, we leave the door open for other assessments. Consider the ones for professionals have been tested, and we have a column on literature that you could follow up on. There's a summary, there's how you can find the tool, access it, as well as the target assessor and who the tool is intended for, the audience. And I will say that most of these professional tools were developed to be administered by an occupational therapist. So these assessments include the Comprehensive Assessment and Solution Process for Aging Residents, or CASPR, Falls Behavioral Scale, Home Falls and Accidents Screening Tool, or HOME FAST, Home Safety Self-Assessment Tool, the Housing Enabler, In-Home Occupational Performance Evaluation, or IHOPE, Safer Home, and the Westmead Home Safety Assessment. And if you're familiar with these, then I'm sure you know that there's an emphasis on the interaction between the individual and their environment, and looking at how they conduct their daily activities. Next slide. The last resource that I will describe is our inventory of home modification related funding sources. This was compiled from years of conducting and creating content for our training course devoted to home modification funding sources. So we have national funding sources, but then also state and local sources that were compiled from student contributions from the Executive Certificate Program and by experts on our staff. Local include tax deductions and exemptions, and local tax credits and loans. But you can see there are many different kind of categories that these funding sources fall under, listed here. And this is set up so that you have the resource and links for more information, a brief description, and then populations and eligibility requirements. And the target population, in case it's too small to see, they're homeowners and renters, landlords, people with low income, older adults, and people with disabilities.
So, Emily, what do you think about these HUD block grants? I do a lot of work. I've done nothing with the HUD block grants. I mean, how do you find out about them, and are they really active? I mean, are they being used in many communities?
It really varies. It definitely varies. Some communities are using them. some communities, what we know, they may, in the past, they were using them for home modification, but then because of lack of, it went to something else. But it's not to say lack of need. It may have been that just the residents of that community were not aware of the opportunity, and then the funding went elsewhere. But there is some opportunity there still, yes, to get involved, and there's kind of a needs assessment process that needs to take place, getting that funding set up to be able to go toward home modification. So I would say at this, there still is some opportunity there, but it definitely varies by community.
Okay, thank you. I wondered about that.
And then and that's the last slide actually, which is just for more information. You can visit our website, our stopfalls.org, and that is a broader fall prevention website, and our home modification resources can be found at this specific link here. And then we have many other resources too. There's a National Prevention Awareness Day. Certain states have Fall Prevention Awareness Week. The Fall Prevention Awareness Day is the first day of fall in September. And we have lots of handouts on various fall prevention topics. They come in, I believe it's 6 different languages and printer-friendly versions. We have assistance briefs that were developed from the work we had done with coalitions. Just a lot of different information on Stop Falls. And then on HMOTA.org, you can find more information about our online executive certificate and home modification program. If you have interest in next series starts in, and you can also find our national directory on home modification at HMOTA.org as well. And thank you so much for allowing me to share this information with you.
Yes, thank you. So we've got a little time for questions if anyone has questions. And I just have a quick question while everybody else is getting their questions together. Oh, hey, hello. Go ahead. Go ahead.
This is Felice. I'm wondering, Emily, did you mention something early on about repairing storm damage to some of these locations that have had these recent storms? And what?
No,
I'm not sure if you mentioned that, and if you did, what resources or how far you got with that?
Sure. Actually, I did not, but as I'm sure you can imagine, our students were greatly impacted by all of the different storms, fires, just everything that's been going on. But yeah, I didn't mention anything about resources for that kind of thing.
Okay, because it was an idea that we tried a little advocate for in the group, but we weren't really sure how to start or where to start. We did some preliminary research.
Well, I can definitely look into it with my team if I can get any recommendations for you.
Oh, that'd be great.
That'd be wonderful. Carrie said,
thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Felice. Carrie said she requested to join the National Directory of Home Modification Repair Resources when she took the ECHM, but she noticed they're not listed yet. What do we need to do to get listed in the directory?
Well, I think there is a sign-up sheet on homemods.org, but I would say definitely fill it out again. And you can also even, I would say to fill it out again, and that it should go to the right place at this time. I'm not sure what may have happened, but please fill it out again. And if you don't receive a response within, I would say, 5 to 7 days, then you can feel free to contact me, and I will make sure, I don't think I put my email address on this PowerPoint, but I'll make sure to that Karen has to share with you.
Nice.
And thank you for letting us know about that, because we definitely want to highlight the great work that's going on.
So, Emily, we are a group of occupational therapists who specialize in home modifications, and many of us have our own businesses. What do you think the biggest source of funding for occupational therapists doing home mods is? I mean, what would be the low-hanging fruit, in your opinion?
Let's see. That is a good question.
And maybe you're not specialized just for OTs, I don't know, but if I just was wondering if you had any thoughts on that.
You know, I would be happy to bring that question to our funding guru, who would definitely have some feedback on it. Yeah, I think that it would be safest to do that. I'd love to provide more information on that for you.
Wonderful. We would love to have more information. I'll send you a little note about that.
Great. That would be great.
And Judy Coleman asks, is there a specific course for fall prevention addressing home mods, or is this embedded in one of your 5 courses?
I would say it is embedded throughout.
Yeah.
Perhaps the introductory, the first course, would speak the most to it, but it's definitely throughout. It's in the course on coalitions as well. So it's a key component, especially from the work that we do at the Fall Prevention Center of Excellence. Yes, we highlight that aspect.
Nice. So is there anything that we can do to help homemods.org, help you with, I know you do a lot of research. Is there any way that we can, as a group, can support you and what you're doing?
Definitely, I would love to send you the survey that we put out recently. And I think that with some projects that we have coming up, I feel like there are exciting opportunities ahead that I will definitely be sharing with you for OTs, but on our end, probably more research as we continue to develop more resources for professionals to help educate the older adults that they work with. I will, whenever we have a survey or are seeking information, this HMOTA would be a fantastic resource for us. So I really appreciate that.
Yeah, anything you need, just let us know. In fact, I'll send you a link to our website, and then it's a community website so people can post there, and maybe, there's things that you would be interested in, or if you've got something wonderful going on, you can just post it on there as well.
Yes. And we also, I would say this is a little ways away, but we have every other year, we have a National Aging in Place Summit, which takes place at the Leonard Davis School in Los Angeles. And we are planning the in 2018, likely to be in October, but I'll definitely share information with you on that as it becomes available. Yeah, I really appreciate that. I'd love to see the website. Just send things your way, so it goes both ways. Any resources we have, and then it's just, yeah, you are a fantastic resource in terms of getting feedback from occupational therapists who are just a key group, as you know, but as we like to share with others as well.
Tiffany asks, she heard Emily say that there is a final project for certification. Can you give a little more information on the final project?
Sure. Actually, there's a final project to get the executive certificate in home. It involves addressing it's actually not even a fictional, it was real situation that one of the instructors handled as a contractor, in which an individual who recently had an accident and had a disability needed to be modified to meet his needs. And so there are parameters that need to be followed. We essentially ask students to provide what they would do to meet this family's. And it's a great way. I'd say there's a kind of a final assignment for each course, and then that overall final assignment. There's also an exam, but they work to bring everything that the student has learned, to bring it all together and kind of bring it into the real world a little bit and enable the student to combine what they've learned, but also use their real experience as well. So I think without a synopsis of the final assignment. Did that answer the question, I hope?
Ashley asks, is this certification connected to the IDEAS Home Modification Practitioners Program Certificate?
It is not connected to anything else, so I would say no.
And then Maher asks, what kind of public education do you carry out to highlight the need for home modifications?
And so I just now I understand this, right, they have their own, they have a course on universal design as well. Certainly, and they're just not connected with theirs. And
Emily, could you repeat that, please? I'm sorry, this audio has been awful with GoToMeeting. I got to get a new tool.
Okay.
Sorry about that.
Sure, not at all. The previous question, I realized what it was referring to, the Ideas Center for Inclusive Design and Environmental. They offer a course on universal design as well. Or I shouldn't say as well, it is different. It's specific to universal design, and it is not connected to our course. But then do you mind repeating the most recent question? I think one came in after that one.
Yeah, what kind of public education do you carry out to highlight the need for home modifications?
We highlight our website and we talk about the work that we do at professional conferences. Most we have collaborated with the National Council on Aging around National Falls Prevention Awareness Day, which is a great time for everyone to kind of gear up and get the word out. We participated in a Twitter chat, as well as a Facebook Live event where had the fantastic opportunity to walk around a Washington, D.C. street with Kathy Cameron from NC, and we discussed ways for older adults to stay safe when they're out and about. So a lot of our focus at this time is on educating professionals who work with older adults.
I think what a lot of people here are running into is trying to educate older adults about what they need in their homes, and the older adults don't feel like they need those sorts of things.
That is it's a very common challenge, definitely. And we hear it. Sometimes people will, we've thought about who are the trusted sources of information. Sometimes people really trust their doctor, their physician, and the Centers for Disease Control have developed something called the STEADY Toolkit for health professionals, and it has information on fall prevention, for handout and assessments. We also, at the Fall Prevention Center, we had done a project with EMS person, fire department, developing an assessment tool, an assessment and information tool for them to use when they respond to a call where an older adult has fallen. And this is becoming more common where communities are partnering with their fire departments because many older adults have expressed that they place trust in the fire department. And this is kind of it's an opportune moment. They're often the first responder call where someone's fallen. So maybe finding opportunities like that to get educational information out, or combining it, with like a home and garden show or housing home show, where people are already interested in things having to do with their home, or people who might be thinking to remodel. And then there's an opportunity to incorporate universal design features and touting how attractive a lot of UD features can be and how they help support independence, trying to combat the notion that all home modifications look institutional. There really are a lot of nicer products out there at this time. But that is definitely a challenge.
Oh.
I would also say that in the research that I've looked at, I know I'm preaching to the choir here, but that working with occupational therapists have helped people comply, have helped individuals kind of identify risks in their home and pursue getting the home modification, assistive devices, learning how to use them properly. But I know OTs are the people who are encountering these challenges still.
Yeah, I think part of it's just for us as OTs is we're just not very well known, as a group or a profession. But I would imagine we're not, like you said, we're not the only ones.
Right. Yeah, that is true. And yeah.
You know what, though? I find that when I work with somebody who's in the hospital who just wants to go home, they understand completely who I am, and they really want some help. because it's too scary trying to figure it out on their own. So I almost feel like we just have to find the people who are really in pain.
Right, that are so in need at that moment. But then is the population out there that it would be great to plan ahead prior to an emergency or an injury or, yeah.
Yeah, I agree.
Well, this is great. This is great to hear on our end too, as we continue. I mean, this is, yeah, it's definitely a challenge, but it's great to hear where the needs are in terms of potential tools that we could create that might help.
Real quick before you go, one thing that we've been working on is working with our lobbyists, both at a federal level and a state level. We're working on putting together a one-pager right now for home modifications that refers to the research. Is there anything that you guys are doing as far as lobbying efforts or that sort of thing?
Being at the university, based at the university, we are not able to do that.
Oh.
However, we try to support others who can. So I would say we're not doing it directly, but I might be able to offer some support if we could discuss, after the call, what you're working on, because it sounds really great. And where we can't do it ourselves, we do try to support however we can.
Nice. I'll make sure that you get a copy of the one pager. And
that would be fantastic.
Adam asked, do you have any outcome studies that are interesting?
We do. With the work that we had done, we had created a educational brochure on universal design and presented it to homeowners insurance policyholders who had catastrophic damage to their kitchen and bathroom. And in a nutshell, it was shown that providing this kind of educational material at the time of a claim can help encourage people to pursue incorporating universal design features into their remodel.
Nice.
So if there's interest there, I'd be happy to send some links to more information on that.
I'm going to send you a whole list of things.
Okay.
That way you'll have it.
I have my.
Yeah, but links to the brochures for the insurance people and any studies.
Sure.
All right, and then I know that you have to go. Just real quick, we are getting some pushback a bit as far as aging in place. Home health care agencies telling they don't need us charging for fall prevention. How would you respond to that, or do you hear any of that sort of thing? That was sort of a shortened part of the question. But caps builders, the builders feel like they already have what they need. They don't need us. That sort of thing. Because we are against the builders and interior designers and all these other people. Sorry about that.
What we really try to hit home in our course is there are different aspects to consider when it comes to home modification, and there are assessments that just look at the home environment, and there are merits to that, certainly, but what is really key is looking at how the individual interacts in the home, within their home environment, and the trying to say it in the way I want to say it, but what we try to hit home is the value of an OT, and feel like that is, it's just unfortunate to hear. And that's kind of what we're trying to at least educate the non-OT students that come through our course. They, have their expertise, and we're trying to increase that, but we just also highlight the importance of what OTs do.
Thank you for that. Thank you so very much, Emily.
Sure. Thank you for this opportunity and these great questions. And I'd love to receive a list of more information I could send your way. And I'll also, I've been taking notes here as well, so I can kind of go back and see if I can provide some more information to flesh out some of my answers too.
Perfect. Thank you so much. And I'll send you a link to the website too, so you can post. Felice asks, can you put your contact info in the chat box? I don't know if you're logged in through the web. I don't know if you can see the box. No, you're on through the phone. Or I can just send it out to everyone. I've got your email address.
Yeah, please.
I can do that.
Feel free to send it out through the phone, unfortunately.
Yeah.
But yeah, please feel free to send it out.
Perfect. Okay. Well, Emily, thank you again for coming. We all very much appreciate your time, and what great information.
Oh, got a little broken up at the end, but I also am so thankful again for this opportunity. Thank you. I look forward to being back in touch soon.
Yeah, and hopefully you'll meet some HMOTA students going through the Executive Certificate in Home Modifications program. It was my favorite.
Yes. Oh, well, that would be wonderful. We would love that.
Yeah.
Oh, right. Good. Well, have a wonderful evening, everyone.
You too. Take care.
Bye-bye. Thank you. Bye.
That was wonderful. Her coming. She had told me before it was a 20-minute speech, and she needed to go early. So I wanted to give her an opportunity to get offline. Adam, there is definitely something going on, and I actually think it's my internet speed on my computer itself more than my internet, just because I need to figure out what's going on with that.
Yeah, I'm thinking it must be that some people just don't have the speed, so they might be having issues there.
Yeah, I'm sure it's something like that, although this never happened before, and now it's happening consistently.
So it's been crystal clear for me from get-go, from the first time I've been on a meeting with y'all.
Oh, good. I hope that it records crystal clear, because I want to get this up in the next few days on the website, so that way people can refer to it, because I think she had some really good information. But since we have a little bit of time, I kind of would like to go back, if anybody else is interested in speaking to people saying they don't really need OTs. And I'd just like to open a discussion for that. I feel like, does anybody else want to comment on that? Because I can always comment.
Aaron, this
Yes.
is Sean.
Hey, Sean.
I have a real good friend who, childhood friend, still friends with. He's a general contractor, and he and I get in debates quite often, even when I show him literature. He talks about consultation, like they do bids. He says, you know, the money is, even though right now it's a good market, he's like, the last thing he wants to do is pay me money to do an assessment that he feels he can do by the ADA standards. You know, I tell him, I look at it more like approach, blah, blah, blah. He's like, I do enough free bids. Last thing I do is pay somebody to go and look at something, and I have to pay somebody out of pocket. Plus, I don't get the job. You know, he said there's just not enough money for everybody that wants it, from his point.
Does anybody have a response to that?
That's kind of what I was thinking too when I sent that email to you, Karen, and when I made the comments here on the chat tonight, that I think it is that these people just see it as a competition for the client's money in some respects. It's not that they don't necessarily value the service that we can bring, but they kind of feel like the customer, might back out if it's getting to be too costly. Now you're bringing in another professional, et cetera, et cetera. And that conversation that I had with the agency marketing person, where she's just flat out saying that we do this for free. We recommend the DME, we recommend or have fall prevention strategies, et cetera. Why are you charging for it? That should be for free. And they're just not getting the idea that we're coming in not only from a humanistic point of view, but just again from a healthcare point of view and forecasting for the future, that we're looking to make this modification and anything else we do something that will be beneficial to them, not just for hopefully for quite some time. And I think that we lack as a profession, like you said, we're not known. AOTA and some of the other organizations that we have, be it state or whatever, just we're not getting enough money into them to lobby and to market. And that's my view of this, I guess, historically from 22 years of practice, is that we lack so poorly behind APTA in terms of dollars and marketing and lobbying. And partly, again, the profession is jack of all trades, so it's not branded like PT or speech. Does that make sense?
I would agree with that.
So I mean, there's got to be some way where, again, that's why I was asking her specifically, where they can't get into lobbying as a university. I'm sure they can get into the outcome studies, and that's probably where we have to focus and really brand and push that OT's been the leader in this area to get out there and make these changes, have the outcome studies like Carolyn Saitong is working on, and just really push that into people's faces, especially healthcare providers. If we get buy-in from doctors, primary care, orthopedists, and the people that are dealing with these, late age issues as they come up, and like you said, they're very afraid about going home and how they're going to make it. If we can get the doctors and these other discharge planners to kind of recognize that, hey, we know how to handle this, we've been doing it, and then hopefully we have a good partnership again with the contractor, which I guess is a big challenge.
I've had exactly those same responses from the people I've spoken to here, who are those companies that basically I call them the ones that are selling the stair lifts and the elevators, who say, well, we're going to come in your house and we'll do our assessment is free, because they sell that product. And this has been years that this has continued. And it's interesting that one of those those charts that Emily just had about CASPAR, the home mods assessment, was developed by this extended home living, who's a local company here. But I don't, they're the ones that, oh yeah, we sell the stair lifts and all that. I don't think they go around saying, oh, we've developed a good resource or a good evaluation. There's drawings and all kind of stuff in that CASPAR thing. You don't hear, they don't talk about that. They talk about okay, yes, OT, come on in and look, but because them and another company just opened a showroom so that people can come and try, walk-in shower and these stair lifts and all this kind of stuff. But when I tried to say, oh, I want to be the OT on your team, they're like, we're not hiring OTs and we don't want to pay extra money. Exactly the same comment. So that's at least going on around this part of town.
For me here in Florida, I've been trying to approach it as I'm not trying to invite myself into being employed by or necessarily paid by a contractor, but to actually go out and market directly to the consumer. And if not directly to the consumer, more so people like elder care attorneys, financial planners, people that are thinking about, what this person's future is going to be like. So I can get in there and get in front of them and say, hey, we can keep your client from, declining and in their bank of all their life savings and what have you. And then I would be that repository of information too, that once I evaluate that person, make decisions, I've also got maybe 5 or 6 different vendors as far as the contractor, as far as concierge physician, as far as whatever services they might need. It could be equipment from RGO or something like that to be brought into the home so that they can be managed at home rather than a facility. And some buy-in from that end, especially with the financial planners, because again, their job is to protect their assets. So if they can put me in front of their client and say, hey, work with Adam because he can help you, bulletproof your home and do things proactively, preventatively, so that we don't, exhaust your portfolio just because you have nasty fall. Contractors, I'm telling the contractors I want to bring a client to you and I want you to, if I'm bringing you a hot lead, expect you to give me at least 5% of your contract. And I had one contractor that was with that. Another contractor's like, I don't need you. But I'm just starting out here too. I've not really spoken with many contractors yet, especially caps. There's 2 caps that I've worked with and a couple that aren't caps. But that's kind of how I'm trying to work my way in and also look at it as not just home modification as far as what I'm looking to offer. I'm looking to offer aging in place as a comprehensive service to the client, which includes home to other providers, other services and products. So I'm hoping that's a good track to be on to kind of, again, make valuable in the marketplace. You've got also the AARP program, the Home Fit program, and I think in part by Carolyn Saipong, who's the OT from Orlando, just moved to Carolinas and has that software, Home for Life, which universities are using, and she also has out there for individual and corporate customers for home mod, which again, her software collects the pre and the post information for outcomes also.
Yeah. We need to get a hold of her for our information too.
And I was trying to get her on the meetings last couple times, but she's still, her software is now her product. She was doing pretty exclusively home mod, and she was involved with that project with Home Depot down here too in Florida, which didn't work because again, Home Depot was kind of greedy. But I think between her software and her her family life too, she's got young kids, so she's pretty busy there.
Yeah.
But definitely we could use her on the meetings, and she is still working very hard, I think, to promote home modification with continuing education. Crickets. Any feedback from anybody else as to how we can kind of market ourselves? I'm really looking for that material again too that shows occupational therapists the value, what we do, how we do, and whatnot. And I'm glad that Carolyn, I think, made it a point to have in the Home Fit program a description of occupational therapy services and what we do.
Nice.
It's nice because then we've got a national brand behind this as far as AARP and the Home Fit showing that occupational therapy is a part of home modification and home safety.
So let me just give you my thoughts on home modification businesses. I have 2 functional homes. It's a construction business and barrier-free OT that does the evaluations. And I separated them because the way the insurance works with both of them. And Damien, if you get a chance to chime in here, I know you're doing a lot as well. But I don't know if you've ever heard of Marnie Renda, Adam. Marnie and I sat down and had lunch together probably 6 or 7 years ago. And she was telling me that with her business, what she finds is she goes out, she gets the clients, she gets a piece of what the builders get for the project, but then they tend to cut her out. And I think that the builders, they look at us as competition. They look at us as a sap on their resources. And the nice thing about, being, if you're the one bringing the people to the table, either through your OT consulting business or through, if you have a construction business like I do, the guys work for me. I give them money. So they look at me as a source of income. And that's a much better way for them to be looking at me than as an expense. But the other thing I would think, as far as working with builders, if they're worried about you costing them money, I think my favorite business model, as far as that goes, is saying, give them my brochure, we'll work together on it, and then you go in, charge $250, $300, whatever, for a basic home modification evaluation, put together short-term and long-term mods, and then recommendations. And then if they want to go forward with anything, you provide the things like the sinks and the toilets, anything that's home mod, specific for wheelchairs, because those are the materials you can make money on. So that way they don't think, oh, this is somebody else I have to pay. Tiffany says, I just don't have the startup money to pay a builder at this point. So the way it works is this. You go out, find a builder you like, and then get a job. And then when you get the 50% down or whatever for the job, give the builder their portion, you take your portion. Keep an eye on how things are going, help them out with the job, and every time you get paid, they get paid. You don't have to have money up front, in my opinion.
Karen?
Yeah.
Are you saying again that you're still the contracting business, but I mean, you're not going to carry the contractor license as an occupational therapist, that's them, but you're the parent company doing the evaluation, making the bid. You've got to make the bid on the project then too, and then use the contractor as your subcontractor under your company?
Yeah, for functional homes, I got a builder's license. So what I do is I go do the evaluation, and then if I get paid for the evaluation, especially when I'm doing it for insurance, I always pay the contractor for his bid. Always, always, always. Because it's a lot of work putting a bid together, and I really appreciate that, and I want to have a good relationship with the guys I'm working with. So if I'm making money, I feel like they should be making money too. So they don't typically cut me out. And a lot of times they'll call me in just because I can go in and charge through my OT license, and they get paid too. So that works out really well. Oh my gosh. Well, Tiffany says she has to get a contractor's license for every town she wants to work in. In Michigan, there's one builder's license. And then what I do is I go with the builder. He puts his bid together. I always say I will supply everything that's required for wheelchair accessibility. You supply everything else. So I supply things like grab bars, roll under sinks, roll under vanities, anything that's specific for wheelchair accessibility. The flooring, I don't trust any of the guys to do the flooring. I have some flooring that I like to work with. And then I just call the manufacturer if I need an installer, and they can usually hook me up. So that's how I make my money. Plus, I put a percentage on what their bid is, and they know I'm going to do that. They expect that. That's the whole building business works that way. There's tons of just subcontracting. So if there's any way you can make it so you don't appear as a suck on their resources, I think that's really the key. And then once they see that you can make money at it, then they're really going to want to bring you in. But I don't think it's for just aging in place, some vague aging in place idea. I think that where we really shine and where our skill set is when we're developing an environment specifically for someone with a disability. I mean, we're the ones who know debilitating conditions and how to do transfers and that, function. And the guys tell me they don't want to deal with that. They just want to build. And I'm very happy that they feel that way. But I really think it's just finding who has the need. And it's people who are nursing homes or hospitals that want to get out. They are so desperate for us. I've had so many people say, I've been looking for you. We need to make ourselves a little bit easier to find. Adam says, aging in place shouldn't be vague.
Hi, Karen, this is Damien.
Oh, hey, Damien.
Yeah, sorry, I was trying to get on earlier, but yeah, going back to what you guys are talking about, talking about working with contractors, and if someone's not ready to learn, they're not ready to learn. So that's kind of a roadblock you don't want to battle too much with. But if you're bringing them, so I like to build the bridges, and so if I'm giving work to the contractors, well, first, if I do all of the upfront work, meaning the assessment, the drafting, the design, the permitting, the only thing, and I do the specs, the scope of work, and the finishes, and if all of that is packaged ready to go for a contractor just to look at and say, oh, okay, here's how much it costs. That is a lot of time and effort that they don't have to do, that you just presented to them very nicely, nice package, and then they can easily just say, okay, that's how I found success in terms of building those relationships. And then you go on to do one project to another project. But one area that I also have been able to really educate people on is even just the consumer as well as the contractor. I ask them, like, look, would you trust a contractor to do home modifications for yourself or your family member? If they're an incomplete quad injury or a complex stroke, would you trust a contractor to make the recommendations for what you need, or do you trust someone who's in the medical field who's had the experience and that's all they do? So kind of painting that picture, like getting them to agree with you, and as well as the contract, So, but yeah, with contractors is a little. Go ahead.
I just said that's huge. That's a great point.
Yeah, I mean it's really, yeah, you have to market yourself with that perspective. You are the medical. I guess the aging in place, people, they don't want the stigma of being injured, and majority of people who are aging in place, they're well elderly, they're baby boomers, they might be still in their 80s and they've never been in the hospital, they don't see themselves as having any issues, and they don't foresee themselves to have any issues. So that's a hard market to, because as you get older, you get more stubborn and hard-headed, and so just as long as you keep on presenting yourself, when a time comes, they remember you, and it's like, okay, yeah, I remember these guys, you stayed on top of their minds. You constantly made contact with them. You're whether it's on a website and putting out a monthly, bi-monthly, couple months, putting out some sort of information or tips about home modification, so that keeps them on their mind, so that when it does, or they do need you, then hey, you're there to have your number, and you're ready to go. So yeah, that's my take on it. I don't really try to push back or fight back, say, hey, this is what I can do for you. I just do it already and say, hey, this is what I've already done for you. Do you want the job now? If not, there's a whole other line of contractors waiting for this. And so when they see that, they see the value in that, and they say like, oh, okay, I never thought of that. I wouldn't have done it this way. I would have done it this, ADA this, and ADA that. Well, we all know ADA doesn't apply to everyone, especially in a home setting. So that's my take on it.
He said, well said, good points. Adam asked, do you think the aging in place market is about to explode? I think it is.
Yeah, I mean, it's whatever statistics are saying. There's tons of them out there, but yeah, there's a growing population in the aging in place, and kind of like what the presenter, I think Emily, that's what she said. That is the future is of long-term care is in the home. People want to stay home, and insurance companies and Medicare, I mean, I can foresee in the future they're going to see the value sooner or later that, okay, for example, with Medicaid, depending on your state, each person who uses Medicaid has on average, a set dollar amount that it costs to keep someone in a nursing home, whether that's $5, or depending on your state. Over here, it's $7,000. That is, you can do a home modification for $30,000. You want to put in a ref, maybe a small bathroom, not knocking down any walls, but maybe a tub conversion. You can do that within that, that within $40,000, and that keeps them in their home, even if they're only alive for another year. That is well worth the cost of putting the money into a home modification rather than putting them into a care home. Since on average, depending on your state, it could be $50,000, $60,000, $70,000 for 1 year on average to keep someone in the home, and triple, quadruple that if you're dealing with people with any sort of G tubes or pediatrics, infants, and trachs, and on oxygen and all that stuff. So yeah,
I think what a great marketing point
definitely.
To say homes are going to be the long-term care facilities of the future. I'm ready to feel that.
Yeah, don't say facility, but
yeah.
talk to it. Yeah.
I actually wrote that down when you said that.
Yeah.
That what a great way to go.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Hi, this is Nicole from Colorado. I have been feverishly taking notes this whole hour. I really, really enjoyed this. I just finished the CAPS course that was taught in Denver this past week, and it was the brand new 3. By the end of the 3 days, I mean, we were exchanging business cards all over the place, but I got a couple emails from contractors that were in there saying, hey, I want to work with you. And so that was really exciting that, I mean, OT was talked about over and over and over, but in the last class, it was a brand new course, and they had some case studies, and it was real nice. And she broke us up into groups of interdisciplinary teams, and I was able to show not only to my small group but to the bigger group what therapists can do and how we bring this medical side in. Interior designers and contractors say, hey, let's connect. I really see the value in what you bring. That's been talked about so much this hour, is this just education for not only these industry professionals but consumers too, and what we can do and what we can bring. But it was like this little microcosm of educating people about what occupational therapy could do, and it was delightful.
That's so cool. So they just rewrote that.
Perfect.
Yeah, they just rewrote that, and they let OTs in.
Yeah.
They weren't letting OTs in before, but they let us in on this one. It makes me really happy.
Did you help, Karen?
Yeah, I had kind of a geek out moment in the second day because I saw your name and I was like, oh! I was so excited to see your name. And yes, it was really neat. And so the class that I took was taught by Christine Fortenberry, who is the lead author for the CAPS 3 course, the brand new CAPS 3. She taught all three of ours. So, but it was so exciting to see your name and to see Carla Chase on there, because I just love her. And it was just, it was really great.
Several people from this group put in on that, help write that. They would only let one name go, and I was the one who's heading it, so I only had my name on. But but a lot of people here worked on that. We were really lucky.
Oh, that's wonderful.
Yeah, and it was funny
That's great.
because the weird thing about that was there was a bit of a throwdown because one of the builders wanted to had written in there, partnering with an occupational therapist can cause you to lose your license, and it can cause the OT to lose their license. Yeah, and so there was a lot of discussion over that, and they finally decided to let us go in. But it was
Wow.
But that's where we just all have to keep pushing. But I think just the fact that we got into the CAPS program, since that's the biggest program, hopefully we can continue to grow as a profession in this field. It sounds like, the executive certificate in home modifications is very supportive. Curious, what's the cost of the CAPS 3 course?
Oh gosh, I took all three of them together, and it was $995. It was $1,000 for all three. So I'm not sure what the individual courses are.
And real quick, I want to support the courses that are supporting us. I have several different people contacting me to present to our group about courses, and I feel like I don't want to just be a marketing tool for them, but I do want to support them, especially if they'll put us in. One guy who's called me a couple times is from the CLIP course, and I was wondering, what you guys think, if anybody's taking that, and if it's something that you think does support occupational therapy.
I have some thoughts on it. This is Nicole from Colorado again. I've been trying to connect with the two guys, Eric and Lewis, and one of them, his wife is an occupational therapist, and so I've heard it's really supportive for OTs. My realtor took the course, and she's been telling me about it. But they're local here in Colorado. They're just like 2 towns away from me. But I hear that they are very, very nice men who are extremely supportive of OTs. I'm also connected with their consultant who is encouraging them to consider other professions if they're not headways in with OTs. So I think it would be wise to talk with them.
Okay, thank you for that. We'll see about having them, talk with us. I just wasn't sure. I was at a AOTA meeting probably 4 or 5 years ago when those guys were there, and several of the home mod OTs were not happy with them, and so I've been a little bit trying to be careful. I just want to make sure that we're supporting people who are, doing the right thing and are supporting OTs.
Yeah.
And Tiffany says she liked it. She's good, and they support it. Nice. Senior ages. Okay. Adam says senior home safety specialist. Age Safe America. That course. I know Alan Prince was doing. We should try to catch up with him and see how that's going for him, because they were supposed to give referrals too. Oh, wow. I almost feel
This
like.
is what I'm saying.
Oh, go ahead.
Sorry.
Go ahead.
I'm just saying this is what I'm saying about them being a little bit opportunistic, and when they don't take this personally at all. But again, they're marketing to basically anybody to come out and take their course and then become, this certified home safety specialists. So again, down here in the South, where you've got your big populations of retirees, Texas, Florida, um, whatnot, the aging in place. And again, I think they're going to be flooded with all these people out there marketing these products. And if we don't, as a profession, get out there and start doing something, we're never going to get in as a recognized professional potentially, because there's just going to be so much disinformation and other people out there doing this. And these big companies, or companies right now like this company that has maybe big enough pockets to market heavily. They're not marketing real heavily yet, but I think they're, you said the one person's taken that course, Wendy has taken this course. They may give referrals. I'm not exactly sure how they work, but I just see them as an organization that may muddy the water.
I agree.
And I found one of the testimonials too was a person who was an OT that lost her license, was suspended for a year, and the company didn't bother to check their testimonials.
Why did she lose her license?
She lost her license treating 30 patients at a time with techs.
Oh, wow.
Long and short.
Oh.
Improper billing practices.
Wow.
So she lost her. I think it was District of Columbia and reciprocally here in Florida. Because once you lose your license in another state, they'll suspend it here too.
Good to know.
Hey, Karen, I have another angle too that I've seen has worked very well. I know for me, say for example, if you're competitor, if you look at them as your competitor, but you should know the ins and outs of their their products. Say for example, the guys who are selling lifts and vertical platform lifts, chair lifts, and any other accessibility stuff. Coming from a therapist point of view and just experience on the medical side, you can go in and you can say that a chairlift is not for everyone, and why, based on your experience. So if someone's putting in a chairlift, and I can, you could probably speak to it as well, Karen. Like that's one of the last things I would recommend for someone who's had a spinal cord injury, even for mid-thoracic or around there, but just because of the transfer and the support as well as the size of a chair, you can go in and break something down, and you can, for each diagnosis, and you can really educate families and so on, and say, okay, this and this is why it wouldn't benefit you, but here's something else that might work for you. And one thing, Karen, if you want to take a poll for everyone on the call, I was thinking about doing a presentation about the portable accessibility products, like the stair climbers and so on like that. Have you done anything like that yet?
No, if you would I think that would be wonderful, because that's one thing people are always asking for is more product recommendations.
Yeah, so just a tip in general for you guys, even if you call the guys who are out there who are already selling accessibility products and you say, hey, you can, if you're trying to build a relationship with, just want to see what they've done already, or that they've done stuff, if you can call them and ask them, I'm looking to install one for a client. Do you have a client that you've used it with before, and can I go check it out, and can I take them to go try it out? If they don't have a showroom, but self with all the products on top of your pushing products a lot, in especially if you're just getting into accessibility and home mods, if you've had experiences mostly as home health therapists, and so you don't usually have a lot of time to be looking at products, because doing therapy and, making simple home modifications. But if you can become an expert at what your competition or, the other are doing as well, then you can be an asset to them and say, hey, I noticed, you did this for this person, this project, here's some considerations, if you came across them and they, from a different project and they already had a house that was set up and, they've been complaining about it, that's one thing that you can go back and educate the installer about, okay, hey, this is the people that mentioned it to you, but I came, to do another home mod assessment or to provide some other home modifications, and this is what they told me, and you assessed them, and so that just education and skills that you're learning and applying a value for you as a therapist as well. That's what I've seen, at least for me.
Good point.
So yeah, I can do a little presentation about those portable stair climbers.
That would be wonderful. I've actually seen those. They look pretty cool.
Yeah.
And the build.
I have to go.
Go ahead.
Go ahead.
No, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
Well, just
no, I was just saying
I was thinking, like, one of my builders went to somebody's house and said, we need to put in a walk-in tub. And, and I went back to him like, why did you tell those people that? It was his job, actually. It wasn't my job. We've been trading off work, but I told them this person needs help washing her feet and washing her lower body. If you do that, if you put in that walk-in tub, she won't be able to do that. And he was like, oh, yeah, I'm not an OT. And I was like, yeah. But, little things like that are kind of fun too, where you can, work together on it and sit and talk about things.
Yeah, exactly.
But that particular guy I met at my CAPS course, and he and I do a lot of work together. So it's exciting to me to hear, Nicole, that you met a bunch of people at your CAPS course. Those people, I mean, this guy and I, we've been working together for probably 8 years now, and I love working with him.
Oh, that's encouraging.
Yeah.
Yeah. I went to, this is Nicole again, I went to a nonprofit free clinic today to do a tour to perhaps start volunteering there after I met a physician at like a pumpkin carving thing this past weekend. And so I went to this place to do the tour to see like how maybe could you use me? They only have one OT on staff and she does autism in clinic. It's like, yes, my thing. And I said, I love being in people's homes. And they said, we would like, they're talking about paying this nonprofit who I was with. And I'm so amazed at it. And I just feel like the more bold and be vulnerable and say, hey, I can do this and I love it, the more people are coming back and seeing it. And so because I'm being vulnerable with myself, I feel like, okay, I'm going to be burned a little bit. I'm sure that's going to happen. But it just feels so good and exciting to be doing this. And I truly am very honored to have found this group. And I am very thankful for all the work that you've done.
We're glad you're here.
Thank you.
And real quick, Judy writes, I recently got an email from NAHB about the 5 ways to get competitive with your CAPS, which we should have all probably checked that out. I'm sure it's on their website, but also address the CAPS 3 course. So I think that's something that's really, we might as well steal some of the marketing, see what they're doing and see what'll work for us. But really what our niche is like Damien said, it's for people who actually have something going on that we can modify specifically for their disability. That's where we shine. That's where we are head and shoulders above everybody else. That's where we are unique. So. And I want to say thank you before, I know we got to wrap up, but I would like to say thank you to everybody who's been working on the one pager. I've got quite a bit of the research. I know Louie's working with it. I'll probably send out something in the next day or so. I'm hoping to get this online in the next day or so. It takes like 3 or 4 hours, so it's hard to find the time. But I'm hoping to get something online for this, and also for people to go over for the keywords for the business, the lobbyers and the legislators. And also somebody also asked about keywords that people are using for their websites. So if anybody has a chance, I'm going to probably post that. I told them to post it on the HMOTA website. I'm going to go probably post it on there if it's not already up there, because it's something we can all use. So it's always easier if we're working together, figuring out all the tricks. So
Can you post Emily's contact information now, or is that too hard?
I don't have it right now. I'd have to open up my email, and you guys would have to all watch me. You hold on just one second.
Okay, never mind.
Okay, and I will include the keywords. I'll either include the keywords in the email or a link to. I think I'd rather put a link in, so that way it can be like a live document and everybody can make suggestions. So that's probably what I'll do. It's always easy to say right now. It's hard when tomorrow comes and there's a lot of other things to do, but that's going to be my goal. If I don't get it around to it, somebody else do it. That's the nice thing about that website. But thank you all for being here and being a part of it. It's so nice to grow and learn this all together. So, have a good night.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.